చెప్పారు ఆఫర్ లెటర్ ఇచ్చాక నేను కడతాను. అదే ముందు మాకు మేనేజ్మెంట్కి కట్టాలి, అదే అదే అట్లా కడతాము, సెంట్రల్ బ్యాంక్ కడతాము.
Good evening, guys. All are getting my screen and voice. Please confirm. Confirm in chat box. Fine. So today we are going to start new batch on DevOps with AWS Cloud. And before going to start, I will give brief introduction about myself. Trainer, myself guys, myself Mr. Raju. I have total 12 years of working experience, 12 plus years of still I am working guys. But currently I am working as a senior technical specialist. And in my current project, I'm not only DevOps with AWS guys, I'm the full stack developer. So Java full stack developer. Along with Java, I'm working DevOps and AWS Cloud also. Right. So coming to my technical stack, I'm working on Java, right, Spring Boot, right, microservices. Along with this, right, I'm using front end Angular, right, and DevOps operations and AWS Cloud guys. AWS Cloud. This is my technical stack which I am using in my current project. I have 12 plus years of working experience. Currently, I am working as a senior technical specialist. Along with this working experience, I have around 9 years of experience in training field also guys. So 9 years of experience in training. Okay, right, this is brief about myself guys. I will look into this. Trainer, myself Raju. I have 12 plus years of working experience. Still I am working guys. Currently I am working as a senior technical specialist. In my project, I am using this technical stack, Java, Spring Boot, microservices. As a front end, I am using Angular. Along with the DevOps operations and AWS Cloud infrastructure setup, everything will be taken care by myself only in my current project. Okay. Along with this working experience, I have 9 years of training experience also. Right. Coming to our course, DevOps with AWS Cloud. To attend for this DevOps with AWS Cloud, right, what is prerequisites guys? What you should know to attend for this DevOps with AWS Cloud. And as a prerequisite, you should know Linux basic commands guys. Linux basics must be required at here. But even if you don't know the Linux also, no problem. Here we are going to cover from Linux guys. From Linux basics we are going to start. So even if you don't know the Linux basics, there is no problem. So that's why prerequisites, in the sense I'm going to say nothing guys. Why I am saying nothing? Okay, to attend for this course, what are the prerequisites are there? Those prerequisites also we are going to cover here. So that's why prerequisites, nothing is required at here. If you guys have the passion about this course, that is enough to attend for this DevOps with AWS Cloud. Okay, coming to our course content guys. So the entire course content I have divided into multiple parts. Course content. Right, entire course I have divided into multiple parts guys. As a part 1, what we are going to discuss? As a part 1, we are going to understand introduction of DevOps. Okay, so next part 2. And in introduction part, what we are going to discuss guys, here we are going to understand what is DevOps, why DevOps is required. As a DevOps engineer, what is your roles and responsibilities, DevOps life cycle, what is the software SDLC, what methodologies are available in SDLC, what is waterfall methodology, what is agile methodology, all those things we are going to understand in part 1. And as part 1, we are going to understand introduction of the DevOps. In this introduction part, we are going to discuss multiple things. Once this part 1 is completed, we will start part 2. And as part 2, what we are going to start, like just now I told, to attend for this DevOps with AWS Cloud, the main prerequisites are Linux commands. Here we are going to start Linux, guys. Linux operating system we are going to discuss. Linux operating system and shell scripting. And both we are going to discuss in part 2, guys. Guys, observe carefully. Course content is very, very important. Okay. As part 1, we are going to discuss introduction of the DevOps. As part 2, we are going to discuss Linux operating system and shell scripting, guys. What we are going to discuss as part 3? Right. As part 3, we are going to discuss AWS Cloud. AWS Cloud we are going to discuss as part 3. Right. So in AWS Cloud, how many services we are going to discuss? Guys, overall 250 plus services are available in the AWS Cloud. Right. So, but we are not going to understand all 250 services. As a DevOps engineer, you no need to learn all 250 services, guys. Right. Here, we are going to understand top 20 plus services in the AWS Cloud. Top 20 plus services we are going to discuss here, guys. Even if you join only for the AWS Cloud course also, they will cover max 15 services, guys. 10 to 15 services only they will cover. And in other institutes, if you join as a DevOps with AWS Cloud Engineer, they will cover top 6 to 7 services only. No one will cover 20 plus services in the AWS Cloud. But here we are going to discuss 20 plus services in the AWS Cloud. Okay, next, as part 4, right, we are going to discuss, right, DevOps tools. DevOps tools we are going to cover as part 4, guys. How many tools we are going to cover? We are going to cover 15 plus DevOps tools. 15 plus tools we are going to cover here. 20 plus services we are going to discuss. 15 plus DevOps tools we are going to discuss. Okay, once these 15 plus DevOps tools are completed, we will discuss, right, right, real-time projects, guys. Real-time projects we are going to discuss. How many real-time projects we are going to discuss? 5 real-time projects we are going to discuss. Not 1 or 2, guys. Right, total 5 real-time projects we are going to discuss. Till here, till part 4, whatever we learned, by using all those things, we are going to discuss 5 real-time projects here. Okay, as part 6, we are going to discuss Python scripting. Python scripting. See here, we are learning shell scripting. Along with that shell scripting, we are going to understand Python scripting also. You can ask to your friends, whoever attending in other institutes, you can check with them, in your institute, they are covering Python scripting also? No. No one will cover Python scripting, and in all other institutes, they are covering Linux and shell scripting only. But here, we are going to discuss Python scripting also. And if you attend for the interviews, they are expecting Python scripting also, guys. So that's why, right, for DevOps engineers, how much Python scripting is required, up to that level, we are going to cover Python scripting also. Almost 15 hours we are going to spend on this Python scripting, guys. Okay, so after Python scripting, as part 7, what we are going to learn? As part 7, we are going to discuss interview guide. Interview guide, guys. Right, what we will cover in this interview guide? Here we are going to discuss resume preparation, how to prepare the resume. Why? Because here we are learning a lot of concepts, guys. So we need to keep all these things properly in the resume. So that's why first we are going to understand resume, guys. How to keep the projects in the resume, how to keep your roles and responsibilities in the resume. Everything we are going to discuss. After that, I will provide the interview guide. Interview questions I will provide on all AWS services and DevOps tools. After that, I will conduct some mock interviews also. All those things will come under part 7 interview guide, guys. So these are the 7 parts which we are going to cover in this course. Just to have a look into this course content, guys. The entire course I have divided into multiple parts. As part 1, we are going to understand introduction of the DevOps. As part 2, Linux operating system and shell scripting. As part 3, AWS cloud. Here how many services we are going to understand? 20 plus services we are going to learn. As part 4, DevOps tools we are going to discuss. How many DevOps tools we are going to discuss? 15 plus DevOps tools we are going to discuss. And as part 5, we are going to understand real-time projects. How many real-time projects? Almost 5 projects we are going to discuss. After that, Python scripting. We are going to spend 15 hours on the Python scripting. How much Python scripting is required for the DevOps engineers? Up to that level we are going to cover. So as part 7, we are going to discuss interview guide. So these are the 7 parts which we are going to cover in our DevOps with AWS cloud training guys. Just have a look into this. Up to here clear? Right. Coming to part 1. In part 1, what we are going to cover? Observe carefully guys. In part 1, we are going to understand what is DevOps, what is DevOps, right? Why DevOps is required, why DevOps, right? So DevOps life cycle, DevOps life cycle. Next, what is SDLC? What is SDLC? Right? Methodologies in SDLC. Methodologies in SDLC. Right? Waterfall methodology. Waterfall methodology. Right? And agile methodology. Agile methodology. Right? All these things we are going to discuss as part 1 guys. Just have a look into this. What we are going to learn in part 1. In part 1, introduction of DevOps. All these things we are going to cover. What is DevOps? Why DevOps? DevOps life cycle. What is SDLC? What methodologies we have in SDLC? What is waterfall methodology? What is agile methodology? All these things we are going to cover as part 1 guys. Just have a look into this. Right. So once this part 1 is completed, we will start part 2. So what is part 2 guys? Part 2 is Linux operating system and shell scripting. What we are going to discuss in part 2 guys? In part 2, we are going to understand what is operating system. What is operating system? Linux is what? Linux is a operating system. That's why first we will understand what is operating system. Then I will talk about Windows operating system. Right, Windows operating system. Right, then I will come to here. Right, Linux operating system. Linux operating system. Right, next, Windows versus Linux. Windows versus Linux. Right, next, the most important part, Linux commands. Linux commands we are going to discuss. Almost we are going to spend 8 days only on this Linux commands. 8 days we are going to spend on this Linux commands only. Right? If you want to attend for this DevOps with AWS course, these Linux commands are mandatory. Right? There is no coding guys. There is no coding in DevOps and AWS. Right? Everything is depend on this Linux commands only. If you are not strong in the Linux commands, then it is very difficult to understand these concepts. Okay, and if you want to practice DevOps tools and AWS services, compulsory you should know all these Linux commands what we are going to understand. Okay, right, almost we are going to spend 7 to 8 days only on this Linux commands. Right, once this Linux commands completed, we will discuss about shell scripting guys. See guys, this is part 2 guys. What we are going to cover in part 2, Linux operating system and shell scripting. Here we are going to discuss what is operating system. Right? So what is Windows operating system? What is Linux operating system? Comparison, Windows versus Linux operating system, Linux commands and shell scripting. All these things we are going to discuss as part 2 guys. Part 1 is what? Introduction of the DevOps. What is part 2? Linux operating system and shell scripting. What we are going to discuss in part 1? All these things we are going to discuss in part 1. What we are going to cover in part 2? All these things we are going to cover in part 2, guys. Okay, next, AWS Cloud. Here the actual course content will start. Till here, only prerequisites we discussed, guys. The actual content will start from part 3, guys. What is part 3? AWS Cloud. AWS Cloud we are going to discuss. How many services we are going to learn in AWS? Almost 20 plus services we are going to learn. Before going to start the actual services, I will talk about what is cloud computing. What are the advantages we have with this cloud computing? Why we need to go for cloud computing? What services are available in cloud computing? What providers are available in cloud computing? All those things we are going to discuss first. Okay, first here we are going to understand, right, what is cloud computing? What is cloud computing? Right, advantages of the cloud computing. Advantages of cloud computing. Next, right, so here the entire services, cloud services are segregated into 3 parts, guys. And those are infrastructure as services, right, platform as services, infrastructure as services, 1 minute, infrastructure as services, platform as services, and software as services. The entire, all the services are segregated in 3 ways, guys. One is infrastructure as service, some services are related to platform, some services are related to software, guys. The cloud services are segregated in 3 ways. Right? Infrastructure as services, platform as services, software as services. If you go with IaaS, what you need to take care, what cloud provider will take care. If you go with PaaS, what you need to take care, what cloud provider will take care. If you go with SaaS, what you need to take care, what cloud provider will take care. All those things we are going to understand it here, guys. Okay, next we will talk about introduction of, guys, till now I haven't discussed anything about the AWS. So this is common, guys. If it is any cloud, whether it is AWS cloud or Azure cloud or GCP, anything, so these things are common. Right? What is cloud computing? Why we need to go for the cloud? How many ways the cloud services are segregated? So these are common for any cloud. Now we are going to discuss introduction of AWS cloud. Introduction of AWS cloud, we will discuss it here. Next, guys, we are going to understand how to create free tier account in AWS cloud. Right? If you want to use AWS services, compulsory you should have the account in the AWS. Then only you can use the AWS services. Okay. First 1 year the account is free tier account, guys. First 1 year we can use as free. Okay. So how to create that free tier account? Right? How many hours you will get per month? All those things we are going to discuss. If you create an account as free tier user, right, per month, how many hours you will get for free? Right. So all those things we are going to discuss it here, guys. Next, guys, here we are going to understand AWS services overview. AWS services overview. Right. What are the services we are going to cover in our course? That services overview I will provide it here. Next here, guys, how AWS managing the infrastructure globally. How AWS managing the, guys, 190 plus countries are using AWS services. 190 plus countries, right? Total we have 260 plus services are available. Those 260 services are using by 190 plus countries. How AWS managing the infrastructure, right? Entire, right, 190 plus services, guys. Globally, how AWS managing the infrastructure, that we need to understand. Right, to manage the, right, infrastructure globally, AWS is going to use regions, right, regions and availability zones. Regions and availability zones. See, guys, how AWS managing the infrastructure globally means by using regions and availability zones. Here we are going to understand, right, right, globally how many regions are available. Under each region, how many availability zones are available. As of now, till today, we have 33 regions in the AWS cloud. Right? In the 33 regions, we have 105 availability zones. Right? We will understand what is region, what is availability zone, everything we will understand it here. Guys, up to here, just we discussed the introduction part. We haven't started actual services, guys. Okay, first in the AWS cloud, we are going to understand what is cloud computing. Right? Next, advantages of the cloud computing. Next, right, how many ways AWS services are cloud services. Cloud services are segregated. Next, introduction of the AWS cloud. Next, how to create the free tier account in the AWS cloud. If you want to practice AWS services, if you want to use AWS services, compulsory, you should have the account in the AWS cloud. How to create that account, we are going to understand here. Next, we will understand AWS services overview. Then we will go to this regions and availability zones. Why we need to talk about these regions and availability zones? AWS managing the infrastructure globally by using these regions and availability zones only. That's why we need to understand what is the region, what is the availability zone, under each region how many availability zones are available, everything we are going to understand here, guys. Okay, once this introduction part is completed, then we will start our actual services. As a first service, we are going to understand, as a first service, we are going to understand EC2. EC2, guys, this is very, very important service. Right? By using this service, what we can do, we can create the virtual machines in the AWS cloud. By using EC2 service, we can create the virtual machines in the AWS cloud. Right? So what virtual machines you can create? Any kind of virtual machine, whether it is a Linux virtual machine or Windows virtual machine or Mac virtual machine, anything. If you want to create any virtual machine in the AWS cloud, then we need to use this EC2 service. EC2 stands for what? Elastic Compute Cloud. Elastic Compute Cloud. Okay. As a first service, we are going to discuss EC2. EC2 stands for Elastic Compute Cloud. Next, what we are going to discuss? Next, we are going to talk about AMI. AMI. What is this AMI? Amazon Mission Image. Right? If you want to create any virtual machine, instead of creating from scratch, AWS is providing some images. AWS is providing some templates. By using this template, if you create the virtual machine, you no need to do anything from scratch. Right? In this template, what are the main required things are there for the virtual machine? All those things you will get in this template. Right? I want operating system. Then you will get the operating system in the template. You no need to install the operating system explicitly. Right? So apart the existing things, if you want any other things, then you can install. But with this templates, we are going to get few things, guys. Few things. We can save the time if you use this AMI guys. Okay, simple. If you want to create any resume, guys, I want to create the resume. Right? What you will do? Are you going to create the resume from scratch, or you will take any sample template? You will take the sample template. On top of that, you will create guys. Right? If you take from scratch, borders you need to take care, alignments you need to take care, fonts you need to take care, everything you need to take care. If you want to take care all those things, it will take more time. Same here also. If you want to create the virtual machine from scratch, operating system you only need to install. You know how much time it will take to install the operating system, guys. Right? If you go with this AMI, you no need to install the operating systems. And along with the operating systems, we will get some extra softwares also. Okay. So that's why to save the time, we are going with these AMIs. Based on our requirement, right, based on our company requirement, based on our project's requirements, we can create our own custom AMIs also. How to create the custom AMIs, how to use the custom AMIs to launch the virtual machine, how to use the provider providing AMIs to launch the virtual machine, everything we are going to discuss here. AMI stands for what? Amazon Mission Image. Amazon Mission Images. AMI stands for Amazon Mission Images, guys. Right. After this AMI, next we will talk about the EBS. EBS stands for what? Elastic Block Store. Elastic Block Store. What is this? It is a storage, guys. It is a storage. Here we are going to create the, see guys, whenever you launch the virtual machine, by default you will get some storage that is called as root volume. Right? Along with virtual machine, you will get some storage also that we will call it as root volume, guys. But we want to store our application data inside that root volume. We want to store our application data inside that root volume. Along with virtual machine, you are getting some root volume. Right? You can't able to detach that root volume from the virtual machine. Right? Tomorrow, if you terminate that virtual machine, along with that, your root volume also will be terminated. Suppose if you store your application data inside that root volume, you will lose that data also. That's why we want to store our application data inside the root volume. Then why we need that root volume? To store the operating system. Right? Along with virtual machine, we are getting operating system, right? Right? We need to keep that operating system. So that's why we are using this root volume. Not for storing our application data. Then where you will store the application data? Right? To store the application data, by using this EBS, we can create the additional volumes. Right? Suppose in our laptops, we are connecting to the pen drives. We are connecting hard disk, external hard disk, external pen drives. Right? So once you store the data, you can detach the pen drive from the laptop. You can detach the hard disk from the laptop. Same here also. Whatever the additional volume you are creating, that additional volume you can attach to the laptop and you can detach from the laptop. Right? Before going to terminate your virtual machine, you can detach the additional volume and you can terminate. But your data is safe in that additional volume. That hard disk or additional volume you can attach to another EC2 instance and you can retrieve the database. Okay. Here we won't store our data inside the root volumes. We will store the data in the additional volume. Here we are going to understand how to create the additional volumes, how to attach the additional volumes with the EC2 instance, how to detach everything we are going to understand. After that, right, we can create the backup also for the additional volumes. Right, to create the backup for the additional volumes, we are going to use snapshots concept. By using snapshot, we can create the backup for the volume. So that also we are going to understand here. Guys, observe carefully. Right, EC2 we are going to discuss, AMI we are going to discuss, and EBS we are going to discuss. After EBS, we are going to discuss the most important topic is ELB. ELB. What is ELB? Elastic Load Balancer. Elastic Load Balancer, guys. See, guys, we are going to understand Elastic Load Balancer. Right here, what is this load balancer? Why we need load balancer, guys? In real time, we will deploy the application in multiple servers. If you deploy the application in single server, what will happen? Suppose if load is increased, if traffic is increased, maybe your server will take more time to provide the response. Because of that, performance will be reduced. See guys, I have one server. I deployed the application in one server. I thought, array, my application is not that much popular. So every day I will get 10,000 requests. Okay, so that's why I deployed the application in single server. To handle the 10,000 requests, one server is enough. Suddenly my application became more popular, guys. A lot of popularity came to my application. Right? So per hour I am getting 1 lakh requests. So that one server can able to handle 1 lakh requests? It can't. It can't, guys. Then what we need to do? We need to deploy the application in multiple servers. Even if you go for the Gmail application, Facebook application, any application, Amazon application, Flipkart application, they deployed those applications in the multiple servers. Okay, when you deploy the application in the multiple servers, how you will distribute the load to those servers? Requests are coming from outside. How you can distribute that load to these many servers? So that will be taken care by the load balancer. And all the requests will come to the load balancer. Load balancer will distribute that load to multiple servers by using some algorithms. Here, which algorithm it will use? The default algorithm is round robin algorithm. Okay, how round robin algorithm will work? All those things we'll discuss, guys. Here we are going to understand how to create the load balancer for monolith architecture based applications, how to create the load balancer for microservices architecture based applications. Everything we are going to understand here. Okay. Next guys, after this we are going to discuss ASG. ASG stands for what? What is ASG guys? Auto scaling group. Auto scaling group. ASG stands for auto scaling group. Auto scaling group guys. What is this? What is this auto scaling group guys? Guys, just now I told guys. Just now I told. Right. So my application is very new. So right. So it is not that much popular. It is not that much popular guys. Okay. So per hour I will get only 10,000 requests. Just my assumption. So that's why I deployed that application in right one server guys. Okay. Right. One server can handle 10,000 requests per hour. Suddenly my application got a lot of popularity. Right, per hour I am getting 1 lakh requests. So my server can't able to handle. Then what I need to do? Right, what I need to do now? I need more servers. I need my one server can handle 10,000 requests only, but 1 lakh requests are coming per hour. So 9 more servers are required. So now in the time, guys, please wait. I have only one server. My server can't able to handle this much of requests. I will go to the market and I will purchase new computers and I will set up the servers. They will wait till that time. They won't wait, right? Then what I need to do? Okay, right. So, okay, guys, I purchased some systems and I have done the setup, everything. Okay, so one day I got per hour 1 lakh requests. Next day, again, per hour 10,000 requests only I am getting. Right, 9 servers I purchased and I done setup. What about those 9 servers? Money waste, time waste, everything waste. So that's why it should be happened automatically. Right, whenever traffic is increased, automatically servers should be created. Whenever traffic is decreased, automatically servers should be removed. So that facility is available in the cloud, guys. They will take care. Whenever traffic is increased, right, within fraction of seconds only they will create new servers. Whenever traffic is decreased, they will remove the existing servers. So that is called as auto scaling. Scale up, scale down. Scale up is nothing but increasing the number of servers. Scale down is nothing but decreasing the number of servers, guys. Okay. Online candidates, is it clear? What is auto scaling? Here we have two things, guys. One is scale up and scale down. Scale up is nothing but what? Increasing the number of servers. Scale down is nothing but decreasing the number of servers. Whenever traffic is increased, automatically servers will be increased. Whenever traffic is decreased, automatically servers will be decreased, guys. That is called as auto scaling, guys. How to create the auto scaling group in the AWS cloud, we are going to understand here. Guys, have a look into this. Right. So these 5 things, guys, have a look into this. Right. Here only in course content only you guys need to get clarity. What is what you should get here only. Right. EC2 means by using EC2 we are going to create the virtual machines. What virtual machines we can create? Windows virtual machine, Linux virtual machine, Mac virtual machine, anything we can create by using EC2 service. Next, AMI. AMI stands for what? Amazon Mission Images. AMI stands for Amazon Mission Images. Right? What is this AMI? Just it is a template. Right? By using this template, we can create the virtual machines. Right? If you use this AMIs, we can save the time, guys. Within fraction of seconds only, we can create the virtual machines. If you don't have this AMIs, you need to spend a lot of time to create the virtual machines. Next one is EBS, Elastic Block Store. Here volumes, guys. Ready? Whenever you have created the virtual machine, along with that, you will get some root volume. But that root volume is not recommended for storing the application data. Why? If you terminate the virtual machine, along with that, you will lose your root volume also. If you store the data inside the root volume, you will lose that data also. That's why storing the application data inside the root volume is not recommended. Then where we need to store? Why we have this root volume? Root volume is only for storing our operating system. Okay, operating system, for the sake of operating system only, we have the root volume. Okay, if you want to store the application data, then we need to create the additional volumes by using this EBS. And we can attach the additional volumes to the EC2 instance and we can store the data inside the additional volumes. Once your work is completed, you can detach the additional volumes from the EC2 instance. Okay, and even if you detach the additional volume, your data is safe in that additional volumes, guys. Next, ELB, load balancer, elastic load balancer. Why we need this load balancer? To distribute the load to multiple servers, we are using this load balancer, guys. If you deploy the application in a single server, maybe that server can't able to handle the huge traffic. Sometimes that server may get crashed also. That's why we need to deploy the applications in the multiple servers. When you deploy the application in the multiple servers, to distribute the load to those many number of servers, here we need to use load balancer concept. Next, we have auto scaling group. Why we need this auto scaling group, guys? Right, based on the traffic, based on the demand, right, increasing the number of servers, decreasing the number of servers. For that purpose, we are going with this auto scaling group, guys. Scale up and scale down, we are going to do it here, guys. Online candidates up to here clear? Please respond. Your friend name Popo. Guys, please put your name. Not getting Popo means. Okay, are you clear? Okay, fine, no problem. Are you clear? Fine. Good. So next, guys, after this, we are going to understand Route 53. What is this Route 53, guys? Route 53. What is this Route 53, guys? Why we need to go for Route 53? See, guys, here you deployed the application in the multiple servers. You deployed the application in the multiple servers, and all those servers are connected to the load balancer. Okay, people will send the request to load balancer. Load balancer have some URL, guys. Load balancer have one DNS URL, right? But the DNS URL is too lengthy. It is very difficult to remember that URL, guys. Then what we need to do? We need to beautify that URL. How you will make beautify that URL, guys? And here we need to purchase one domain. Right? We need to purchase one domain. Simple, guys. Our Google Gmail application is there. Gmail application is the global application. That Gmail application deployed in the multiple servers. Right? All the servers are connected to the load balancer. Right? That load balancer has some URL. Now tell me, do we have the Gmail application load balancer URL? We don't have that. But where you are sending the request? You are sending the request to domain. Gmail.com domain, you are sending the request. Internally, that domain name is mapped with the load balancer URL. Internally, what we are doing? We are doing mapping between the domain name and load balancer URL. And we will share that domain name to the customers. They will send the request to domain name only. Whenever you send the request to domain name, that domain name will forward your request to the load balancer URL. Load balancer will distribute the load to servers, guys. Right here, to do that mapping, between domain name and load balancer URL, we are going to use this Route 53 service. Okay, why we need Route 53, guys? Just for mapping purpose. Right? You can map domain name with the load balancer URL. You can map domain name with your system IP address. You can map domain name with the S3 bucket URL. So that mapping purpose only we are using Route 53 services. Okay, right. Next, after Route 53, what we are going to learn? Here the most important topic is S3. S3, guys. What is this S3, guys? S3 is simple storage service. S3 is nothing but simple storage service, guys. Simple storage service. Okay. And here it is unlimited storage, guys. And in interview, sometimes they are asking, what are the storages you have? What are the different storages you have? S3 is storage only, and our EBS volumes are storages only, guys. And here S3 is what? Unlimited storage. Unlimited storage, guys. In S3, what we are doing? We are creating the buckets. In S3, we are creating the buckets. Inside the buckets, what we are storing? We are storing the objects. Inside the bucket, whatever we are storing, those things we will call it as the objects. Here we can store the files and we can store the directories also. And here we can maintain the versioning also. Versioning we can maintain, object locking, right? Other persons won't perform any write operations on our object. Right? They can read, but they can't able to perform any write operations. How you can restrict that? By using locking mechanism. Object locking we can apply, and right, a lot of things are there in S3 guys. Right? We can host the static website in the S3. All those things we are going to discuss at here. And in simple, S3 is nothing but simple storage service. It is unlimited storage device, guys. We can store the data permanently in the S3, guys. How much data we can store? Unlimited. Unlimited, guys. That we will discuss at the time of discussing S3, guys. Okay. And after this S3, we are going to discuss RDS. What is this RDS? RDS stands for what, guys? Relational Database Service. Relational Database Service. Relational Database Service we have it. RDS stands for Relational Database Service. What is the other name for the Relational Database Services? Structural Databases. SQL means what? Structural Query Languages. Right? Structural databases, we can call it as the Relational Database Services. We have the MySQL, we have the Oracle, right? All these are what? Right, structural databases only. Here we are maintaining some structure, rows and columns, tabular format we are maintaining is proper structure we are maintaining to store the data. So that's why we will call it as structural databases. Relational means, right, relational means proper structure is available. Right, proper structure, guys. Okay, here we are going to understand how to create the MySQL databases in AWS Cloud. Once you have created the database in the AWS Cloud, you will get some properties. What properties you will get? Database name, database password, database endpoint URL, right? So port number, on which port the database running, all those details you will get. What you need to do after creating the database in the AWS Cloud, we need to collect all these properties and you need to give those properties to the development team. What development team will do? They will configure those details in their application, and through application they will connect with the database and they will perform all the CRUD operations, right? Creating the data, retrieving the data, updating the data, deleting the data. All those operations they will perform through application. Okay, if they want to connect to the database through application, we should provide the properties to the development team. They need to configure those details in their application properties file or application YML file. Through that they will connect and they can perform the operations in the DB. Okay. Next, after RDS, we are going to talk about DynamoDB. What is this DynamoDB? DynamoDB is the NoSQL database. And SQL means structural database. NoSQL means there is no proper structure. There is no proper structure, guys. Data will be stored in the form of JSON format, keys and values format. There is no tabular format. There is no rows and columns. That is called NoSQL database. What NoSQL databases we have? MongoDB is the NoSQL database only. DynamoDB is the NoSQL database only. Here we are going to discuss this DynamoDB. Why? Because DynamoDB is the AWS own product. DynamoDB is the AWS own product. That's why here we are going to create DynamoDB, guys. Guys, observe carefully. By using RDS, you are creating the database, guys. You are creating the database, guys. Observe carefully what I am telling. By using RDS, we are creating the database. And through application, we are connecting to the database. Through application, you can create the tables also in the database. But in the DynamoDB, we are not creating the database. Database already available in the AWS. DynamoDB is the AWS own product. Means that the database already available. Then what you are doing? Right? You are creating the tables in the DynamoDB. Right? We will create the tables in the DynamoDB. And you need to give the tables information to the development team. What table you have created, what columns are there in that table, what is the primary key, right? All that information, under which region you have created the table, that information you need to give it to the development team. So they will configure those details in their application. Okay, and they will connect. Okay, see guys, observe carefully. Up to here, have a look into this. EC2, AMI, EBS, ELB, ASD, Route 53, S3, RDS, DynamoDB. Okay, next guys, DynamoDB is what? NoSQL database. Okay, perfect. Next guys, very important one guys. Very important one. Next one is VPC. This is a very important and little bit not difficult guys. I can make it simple. People are feeling it is difficult. Nothing difficult here guys. Nothing difficult here. It is very easy guys. VPC stands for what? Virtual Private Cloud. Virtual Private Cloud guys. Here a lot of things are there to understand. Right? What is VPC? VPC is a large network. By using this VPC, we are providing the security for our resources. Whenever you are using AWS, right, for your application, right, you will use multiple services. Right, EC2 you will use, S3 you are using, RDS you are using, DynamoDB tables you are using, right, some web servers you will use, right, application servers you will use, lot of things you will use. Where you will keep all those things. Provide the security for all those things. Through this VPC only we are going to provide the security. VPC will provide the private network guys. Right, virtual private cloud means it will provide the private network. It is a large network. Then what we are going to learn here? Right, here we are going to understand, right, the main components of the VPC. And in interview, frequently asked question is VPC components. What components are there? Right, first, right, this is very big network. Right, we need to split this big network into several small things guys. For that, we are going to create subnets. Right, subnets guys. Here we can create public subnets, private subnets, route tables, internet gateway, NAT gateway, VPC peering. So many things we have to understand in the VPC. Right, all those things we will understand with the practicals at here guys. And here we are going to understand subnets, what is public subnet, what is private subnet, what is route table, what is internet gateway, how to map the route tables with the subnets, what is NAT gateway, and what is VPC sizing, what is CIDR blocks. Lot of things we need to understand in VPC. Every point is important only here. Every point. And if they ask in the interview, explain about VPC, you can explain at least half an hour about this VPC. So that much lengthy subject is there in VPC. It is very easy guys. Don't feel difficult. Right? It is very easy. Right? I will provide beautiful notes and practically everything we will discuss this. Okay, fine. So why I am saying it is very easy for you people. Right? We are going to do one project also on this VPC. Right? How? Right? By using Terraform, we are going to do one end-to-end project guys. Creating the VPC, right? Through UI we are creating the VPC. Through Terraform also we are going to create the VPC. Because of that, you guys will get more knowledge on the VPC components and everything, guys. Okay, right. So after this VPC, what we are going to discuss? After VPC, we are going to understand, right, CloudWatch. What is the CloudWatch, guys? After VPC, we are going to understand CloudWatch. Right? What is this CloudWatch? CloudWatch is a monitoring tool. Monitoring tool, guys. We need to monitor our resources. We need to monitor our application. How my resources are available, and how my application is running. Right? So, right, CPU, how much CPU is utilized, how much memory is utilized. Everything we need to monitor. We need to monitor the resources and we need to monitor the application, everything. For monitoring purpose, in the AWS, we have one concept that is called as CloudWatch. By using CloudWatch, we can monitor our application and application resources. Okay. Along with this CloudWatch only, here we are going to discuss SNS also. SNS stands for what? Simple Notification Service. Simple notification service, guys. Okay, here what we are going to do, guys? Here SNS is there, right? We need to attach the SNS with the EC2 instance, guys, right? And whenever CloudWatch will monitor our resources, guys. When here we need to set up one trigger point. If CPU utilization is greater than 50%. If CPU utilization is reached to 50%, immediately send one notification to me. So like that, we need to add one trigger point. How CloudWatch will provide the notification? How CloudWatch will give the notification? Here we need to set up one alarm. Here we need to set up one alarm. Whenever CPU utilization is reached to 50%, CloudWatch will press that alarm. Hey man, CPU utilization is reached to 50%. It will press that alarm. What alarm will do? Alarm will push the message to the SNS topic. Hey, here CPU utilization reached to 50%. Like that, alarm will send one message to SNS topic. Right? Some subscribers are already registered with the SNS topic. Whoever registered with the SNS topic, all those people will get the notifications about this resources utilization. So the complete end-to-end we are going to understand it here, guys. Okay, right after SNS, we are going to discuss SQS also. SQS. What is this SQS? Simple queue service. Scroll down. SQS stands for what? Simple queue service, guys. Simple queue service. What is this? This is the publisher and subscriber model. Here we are going to create the queues. See guys, simple example. I have one publisher application. I have two applications are there, guys. Two applications are available. Right? Those two applications needs to communicate each other. Those two applications needs to communicate each other, guys. Assume publisher application, consumer application. Publisher application need to give some message to the consumer application. Okay, now publisher application is trying to connect with the consumer, guys, but at that time consumer is down, consumer service is down, it is not up and running. So then what publisher need to do? We need to wait until consumer is up and running. Just to give one message, publisher should wait until consumer is up and running. It is time waste. Why you need to wait until consumer is up and running? Why you need to wait for the consumer? Right, in between you and consumer, I am going to put one queue. Whatever your message you want to deliver, put that message inside the queue and you come back. Don't wait for the consumer. Whenever consumer will up and running, consumer will come and check inside the queue for him. Any messages are available. Right? If anything is available, consumer will take the messages from the queue. Okay. Right. Simple, guys. Right. We have the post box. Simple. Right. So one delivery, one postman. Right. So one delivery came with postman, guys. By the time we are not at home, what will happen? We don't have any post box set up also in front of our gate. Right? He will go back with that letter, guys. Again, next day he will try. Right? Next day also we are not available. What he will do? Again he will go back. Right? He will try 1 or 2 times, guys. After that, again he will send that letter back to that source, guys. You will lose something. Correct or not? You will miss some message, guys. Right? Instead of that, right? If you keep one box, letter box in front of your gate, whenever that postman comes, he will drop you letter in that box. Right? So whenever you will come, right, after 2 days or 3 days or 1 week, you will come to home, right? At that time, you can go and check in that post box. That message, letter is available. You can take that and you can get the message. You won't miss anything at here, guys. Same here, SQS also. Understood why we are using SQS? It is a simple queue service, guys. Simple queue service. It is going to work as a publisher and subscriber model. Right? SNS is simple notification service. SQS is simple queue service. Okay. After that, here we are going to understand one more service that is called as ECS. ECS. What is this ECS? Elastic container service. Elastic container service, guys. What is this? Elastic container service. See, guys. Right here, Docker is a containerization platform. Docker is a containerization platform. Right here, what we are doing, if you have the Docker images, then you will start the container by using that image. To start the container from the image, you need to run one command, guys. What command you need to run? Docker run, right? That command you need to run. Then only you can create the container from the Docker image. Okay. Instead of you running the container, instead of you starting the container, if you have the image, give that image to the ECS service. Right? The ECS only will create the container for you. You no need to do anything. Right? Give that image to the ECS. ECS will create the container for you by using that image. Right? When you are working with AWS, AWS is providing some service. Utilize that. Utilize the services. Right here ECS is there, right? Or else you can keep the right. We have one more service that is Elastic Registry service also available. Right here we need to keep our Docker images in some locations. Right, whenever we require at that time we will go to that location and we will take and we will start the container. Here we are working with AWS. For that, AWS is providing one service. You can use that service. You can utilize that service. That is Elastic Registry service. Right? ECS we will use to create the containers from the Docker images. If you have the Docker image, give that image to the ECS service. By using that image, ECS service will create the container for you. Okay? That what is that? We will discuss, guys. We'll see practically, guys. Okay. Next one, the most important one, guys. The most important one is EKS. The most important service is EKS. What is this? Elastic Kubernetes Service. Elastic Kubernetes Service, guys. Kubernetes Service. Okay. And what is this, guys? ECS is the containerization platform. Docker is a containerization platform. By using Docker, we are creating the containers. Right? What is Kubernetes? Kubernetes is the orchestration platform. Orchestration means what, guys? Whatever the containers you are creating by using Docker, we need to manage those containers in proper order. That is called as orchestration, guys. Right? In our functions, marriages, right, we have the orchestration batch. Random batch, guys. Orchestration. How they will play the instruments, guys? They will play the instruments in proper order, guys. They will manage in proper order. That is called as orchestration. Same here also, whatever the containers are available, we need to manage those containers properly. In proper order, we need to manage those containers. To manage the containers in proper order, we have orchestration platform. That orchestration platform is Kubernetes. Kubernetes, guys. Here, we should have the cluster, guys. If you want to deploy the application in the Kubernetes, we should have the cluster. Right? That cluster we can create on our own also. That we will discuss in the Kubernetes. How to create the cluster on our own. Or else, providers are providing some Kubernetes cluster. Providers means who? AWS is one provider. Azure is one provider. GCP is one provider. Those providers also providing the Kubernetes cluster. You can use those clusters to deploy your application. EKS is one cluster which is provided by the AWS. EKS is one Kubernetes, guys. It is providing by the AWS. Instead of you creating the cluster, you can use AWS providing EKS cluster to deploy the applications. Okay, guys, we are going to spend a very good amount of time on the Kubernetes. Almost 30 hours we are going to spend on the Kubernetes. In Kubernetes, you guys will become masters. Okay, there we will use this EKS cluster for deploying the applications, guys. How to use the EKS cluster, how to set up the EKS cluster, everything we will discuss, guys. Don't worry. Right? We are going to spend 30 hours, 30, not 13. 30 hours time on Kubernetes. You guys will become masters on the Kubernetes. Don't worry. Okay. After this EKS, next, guys, we are going to understand, right, IAM. What is this IAM? This is also one of the important service. Identity access and management. Identity access and management, guys. IAM is identity and access. Identity and access management. And this side. And identity and access management. IAM stands for identity and access management, guys. Why this one? Why this one, guys? Guys, and whenever you have created the account in the AWS, by default that is the root account. By default that is the root account, guys. As a root account holder, you have the full control on the AWS service. You have complete control over all AWS services. Okay, but all services are free? No. And most of the services are paid services, guys. Without actual usage and without having requirement, if you try to use all the services, what will happen? Lot of bill will generate, guys. Lot of bill will generate. So that's why in the company, what they will do, they won't give the root account details to the employees. For every user, for every employee, they will create the IAM account. Right? With the IAM account, what they are doing? They are restricting the permissions, guys. Suppose you are the developer. What services developer should access, guys? Database, S3 bucket. These two are enough for the developer. Suppose if there is no IAM concept, right, they will provide the root account credentials only for the developer also. Right? Here developer can access only, developer can use only S3 and RDS, but he have the root account credentials. With the root account credentials, what he will try to do? He will try to check all the services. Unnecessarily bill will generate, guys. Okay, so to restrict the permissions, we are going to create the IAM accounts for the users. Here we are going to understand how to create the IAM users, how to create the groups, how to add the users to the groups, how to create the policies, right? With those policies, how to create the resources, everything we are going to understand here. And here we are creating the users, we are creating the groups, we are adding the users to particular group, we are detaching, by removing the users from the group, we are creating custom policies. By using those policies, we are creating the resources. Everything we are going to understand. IAM is one of the most important services. Okay. After that, so here we are going to understand AWS CLI. AWS CLI. What is this? AWS command line interface. AWS command line interface. Okay. And what is this? Guys, to access the AWS resources, right, we have two approaches. One is through user interface. We have the AWS console management user interface. Through that UI, you can access the AWS resources. Along with that, right, we have the command prompt also. Right, we can access the AWS resources through command prompt also. If you access the AWS resources through command prompt, then that is called as command line interface access. You can create S3 bucket through command prompt. You can create RDS database through command prompt. You can create EC2 instance through command prompt. Whatever you are doing, right, from UI, everything you can do through command prompt also. Right, accessing the AWS resources through command prompt, that is called as command line interface access. Okay, here we are going to understand how to access the AWS resources through command prompt, how to create the resources in the AWS cloud right through command prompt, everything we are going to discuss it here, guys. Okay, next important one is serverless computing. Serverless computing, guys. What is the serverless computing? As the serverless computing, what we are going to learn? Lambdas. Lambdas we are going to discuss as serverless computing. Right? What is the lambdas? Right? Why we are calling as serverless computing? Right? So right. So how to create the lambda functions? How to map those lambda functions with our application functions? All those things we will understand, guys. Okay. Next important one is right here. Right? Cloud formation. Cloud formation. What is this cloud formation? What is this cloud formation, guys? See, guys, by using this cloud formation is right here, right, IAC. We can say as IAC, guys. IAC stands for what? Infrastructure as a code. Right? Infrastructure as a code, guys. Means what? Guys, till now, if you want to create the EC2 instance, or if you want to create the VPC, or if you want to create the S3, or if you want to create the MySQL database, how you are creating? Through user interface, through UI, you are creating all those things. Instead of that, by writing some code also you can create the infrastructure. By writing some code also you can create the infrastructure. Right? If you want to create the infrastructure by using code, then AWS is providing one service that is called as cloud formation. Right? What is cloud formation? Cloud formation is a infrastructure as code service. Right? Means by using cloud formation, you can create the infrastructure as code. By using code, we are creating the infrastructure with this cloud formation. Okay, right? How to create the infrastructure by using cloud formation, we are going to understand. Guys, nowadays in the companies, right, they are not allowing to create the infrastructure through UI. They are not allowing to create the infrastructure through UI. They are asking you to create the infrastructure by using IAC only. By writing some code only, you need to create the infrastructure. For that, what you need to do? Right? You can use cloud formation. Okay, here you are using cloud formation. Here you are using AWS. In the AWS, we have cloud formation to create the infrastructure. You can use this and you can create. But I am not using AWS. I am using Azure. Then what I need to do? Right? In Azure, we have one more, guys. Azure Resource Manager is there. In Azure, we have another service like this to create the infrastructure. Suppose you are going for GCP, then we have another service like this to create the infrastructure. We have so many cloud guys. We have so many public clouds. And everywhere we have separate IAC services, guys, to create the infrastructure. You should learn all these things, huh? Right? Instead of learning these many IAC services, if you know the Terraform, by using Terraform, you can create the infrastructure in any cloud, guys. Whether it is AWS or Azure or GCP or IBM cloud, anything, anywhere you can create the infrastructure by using Terraform. If you don't know the Terraform, again you need to learn these services separately. And you are using AWS, then learn cloud formation. You are using Azure, then corresponding service to create the infrastructure. Are you using GCP? Then use corresponding service, guys. Instead of learning these many number of services, if you learn Terraform, it will help for all, right? You can create infrastructure in anywhere, right? Because of that reason, Terraform is one of the mandatory right, so thing in the DevOps and AWS cloud, guys. If you don't know the Terraform, if you don't put the Terraform in your resume, then it is very difficult to get the calls. Right? Now, if you know only Terraform also, you will get the calls, guys. A lot of openings are there only on Terraform also. But if you don't know the Terraform, it is very difficult to get the job. Terraform is that much important one, guys, to create the infrastructure. Companies, almost 99.9999% companies are using Terraform only to create the infrastructure. Our old students, guys, from past 2 years, 3 years, they are working with Terraform only. They forget all other services. They forget all other tools, guys. They didn't remember anything. Why? From last 3 years, they are working Terraform only. Before starting COVID, they have started their career. From that time till today, they are using Terraforms only. That remaining all the tools, services, whatever they learned, everything gone. Only Terraform they are working. Now they are masters in the Terraform. So Terraform is that much important, guys. Okay, Capgemini, Cognizant, so many top MNC companies are looking for the people who knows only Terraform also. Okay, we need to put very special focus on the Terraform here, guys. Okay. And here one more service is there. So that is Elastic Beanstalk. Elastic Beanstalk. What is this Elastic Beanstalk, guys? What is this Elastic Beanstalk, guys? What is Elastic Beanstalk? And we can say this is the PaaS, Platform as a Service. What is this, guys? Elastic Beanstalk is the platform as a service. What is this Elastic Beanstalk, guys? Guys, I am the Java developer. I want to run my Java application. If you want to run the Java application, you should create the required platform to run the application. You should have the platform to run your application. So, who needs to create that platform? You only need to create the platform to run that application. Guys, 1 minute. So, as a Java developer, if you want to run your application, you should have the required platform. Okay, you may say, I am very busy with the development. I don't have the time to create the platform. I need to put more focus on the application development, so I can't able to create. No problem. AWS is providing one service. You can use that service. If you use that service only will create the required platform for your application. You no need to create the platform. That service only will create the required platform for your application. Just give your application code to that service. That service only will create the platform and it will run the application. So that is elastic beanstalk. If you go with elastic beanstalk, you no need to create the platform. Right? Just you can focus on the application development. You can focus on the application logic. Whatever the application you have developed, give that application to that elastic beanstalk. It will create the required platform to run your application. You no need to worry about that. Okay. Right? Next guys. Next here. So what we are going to do guys? Next here what we are going to do here? After this elastic beanstalk, here we are going to understand, right, Terraform. Terraform we are going to discuss it here. Terraform we are going to discuss it here guys. Okay guys, Terraform is very important. By using Terraform, what we can do? We can create the infrastructure in any cloud. Whether it is AWS or Azure or GCP, any cloud we can create the infrastructure by using Terraform. We are going to spend almost 1 week of the time on this Terraform. 7 to 8 days we are going to spend on this Terraform. And we are going to do one complete project also on this Terraform guys. You guys can keep that project in your resume guys. And at the time of attending the interviews, whatever the project we are going to do by using Terraform, that project you guys can keep in your resumes. And end to end we are going to do by using Terraform. Okay. And after this Terraform, right, we are going to understand Ansible also. What is this Ansible? Ansible is a configuration management tool. Ansible is a configuration management tool, guys. Ansible is a configuration management tool. What is this Terraform? Terraform is a infrastructure as a code tool. By using Terraform, what we are doing? We are creating the infrastructure. Terraform is a infrastructure as a code. Infrastructure as a code tool, guys. Okay. Infrastructure. Right. Infrastructure as a code tool, guys. By using this Terraform, right? So we are going to create the infrastructure in any cloud, guys. Here, what we are going to learn in this Terraform, right? Here, Terraform, right? Why we need to go for the Terraform? Right? In AWS, already we have the cloud formation. Then what is the difference between cloud formation and Terraform? How to set up the Terraform? And here, how to create the infrastructure, right, using multiple providers? How to create the infrastructure in multiple regions? What is the Terraform folder structures? What is the Terraform backends, remote backends? Right? So everything, guys. What is Terraform locking? Right? What are the different provisioners are available in the Terraform? Everything we are going to discuss it here. Right, so everything we are going to TF var files. What is the TF var files? What is TF files? What is input variables? How to take the output variables? Everything end to end, complete Terraform we are going to understand here, guys. Okay, if you attend for this Terraform sessions in interview, you can answer any question in the Terraform, guys. Right? So till now we have seen so many interviews, guys. Right? We didn't get any question out of the Terraform, guys. What we discussed in our class, we didn't single question also out of that. Everything we can answer if you attend for this Terraform, guys. Right? We are going to spend almost 8 to 9 days only on this Terraform. Okay. After that, we are going to discuss Ansible. What is this Ansible? Configuration management tool. Right? What is this configuration management tool? See, guys, I have 100 servers, guys. I want to install some packages in all the 100 servers. So, if you want to install the softwares in all 100 servers, how much time is required? In each server, I need to install 100 softwares. 100 machines, in each server, each machine, 100 softwares I need to install. How much time is required? How many admins you require to do this process? Right? We need a lot of people to do this, and we need a lot of time to do this, guys. Instead of that, by using Ansible, we can connect remotely to the all 100 servers at a time, and we can install the packages in all 100 servers at a time. Within fraction of seconds only, we can do the installation process. We can complete the installations and configurations by using this Ansible. Right? By using Ansible, what we are doing? We are connecting to multiple systems remotely, and we are doing the installations at a time in all the machines, guys. that is configuration management tool. As a configuration management tool, earlier people used to work with Chef, Puppet, those things, guys. But nowadays, those are outdated. Nowadays, companies are using this Ansible only as configuration management tool. Chef, Puppet, those are outdated, guys. No one using those things now. Okay, guys, just have a look into this course content once. Just this is only in the AWS. We haven't discussed anything about the DevOps tools, guys. Right? So as part 4, we are going to discuss DevOps tools. As part 5, we are going to discuss real-time projects. How many projects? 5 projects we are going to discuss here. Next. That I will tell. That I will come to there, right? I will explain what projects we will discuss. Once I come to this part 5, there I will cover. Okay, next Python scripting. Right? So nowadays in 2024, Python scripting is going to play a very important key role for the DevOps engineers. Most of the companies are expecting Python scripting also. Here we are going to understand how much Python scripting is required for the DevOps engineers. Up to that level we are going to discuss. Almost 15 hours we are going to spend on this Python scripting also. Okay, today I am going to stop with this, guys. Right, already 8:30. I have another session at 8:30, guys. Let's see. Just let me go through once again what we discussed so far. Guys, the entire course content we have divided into 7 parts. As part 1, we are going to discuss introduction of the DevOps. As part 2, we are going to discuss Linux operating system and shell scripting. As part 3, we are going to discuss AWS cloud. As part 4, we are going to discuss DevOps tools. As part 5, we are going to discuss real-time projects. Part 6, we are going to discuss Python scripting. Part 7, we are going to discuss interview guide. Okay, in part 1, right, introduction of DevOps, what we are going to cover? All these things we are going to cover. What is DevOps? Why DevOps? DevOps life cycle. What is software development life cycle? What methodologies are available in SDLC? What is waterfall methodology? What is agile methodology? All these things we are going to discuss in part 1. Coming to part 2, to attend for this DevOps and AWS course, the main prerequisites are Linux commands only. So, but here I mentioned nothing is required as prerequisite. Why? Linux commands also we are going to learn here. That's why I mentioned as nothing is. Here we are going to understand Linux operating system and shell scripting as part 2. Here what we are going to discuss, what is operating system, what is Windows operating system, what is Linux operating system, Windows versus Linux, Linux commands, shell scripting. All these things we are going to discuss as part 2. And as part 3, we are going to discuss AWS cloud. How many services we are going to learn in AWS cloud? 20 plus services we are going to learn. 20 plus services we are going to learn in the AWS cloud. Right? Before going to start actual services, first I will talk about the cloud computing. What is cloud computing? Why we need to go for the cloud computing? Advantages of the cloud computing. Cloud services are segregated into 3 ways: IaaS, PaaS, SaaS. Introduction of AWS cloud. How to create the free tier account in the AWS cloud. AWS services overview, regions and availability zones. All this introduction part we are going to discuss, guys. After completing this part, we will start our actual services. All these services we are going to discuss with the practicals. With the practicals, we are going to discuss all these services, guys. EC2, AMI, EBS, ELP, ASG, Route 53, S3, RDS, DynamoDB, VPC, CloudWatch, SNS, SQS, ECS, EKS, IAM, AWS CLI, Lambdas, CloudFormation, Elastic Beanstalk, Terraform, and Ansible. All these things we are going to discuss. And yeah, up to here clear, guys? Please respond. Up to here clear? Anyone have any questions up to here? Other people, please respond. Guys, two-way communication must be required, not one-way communication. If I ask anything, please respond. Then only we can understand whether you guys are following or not. What about other people? Please respond in the chat box. Course content is very, very important. Before going to jump into actuals, first you should understand what you are learning. Without understanding what you are learning, there is no use of attending for the regular sessions, guys. That's why course content is very, very important. Still, I am not getting the response from other people. Please. Soumya, Srihari, good. Santosh. Right. So guys, we have the recorded session also. Right. So guys, every day recording session is available, guys. I will share that recording sessions, daily class notes. Now, how I have prepared the class notes here. Same way, daily I will prepare in the notepad itself, guys. Whatever is coming from my mouth, everything I will keep in the notepad. Once class is completed, I will share that notepad. Okay. Recording session you will get. Recording session you will get, guys. You can go through the recording session multiple times. Okay. And tomorrow again we will connect at 7 p.m. guys, and we will discuss the remaining things, guys. What tools we are going to learn in the DevOps, what real-time projects we are going to do, what we are going to discuss in the Python scripting, all those things I will finish in tomorrow's session. Is it okay? I have another session at 8:30, guys, and that's why I'm stopping it here. Tomorrow we will discuss remaining things, guys. Guys, our course content is very huge. It will take time, guys, to discuss the complete course content. Here I am explaining what is the purpose of each and every service, guys. Not only writing the service names here, I am discussing what is the purpose of each and every service. That's why it is taking little bit time, guys. Okay? No problem. Even it takes 1 or 2 days extra also, we should get complete clarity on the course content first. Is it clear? Okay. Fine, guys. I'm stopping for today. Tomorrow we will complete remaining things also, and at the end we will spend 15 to 20 minutes for doubts clarification in tomorrow's session, guys. Okay. Thank you, guys. Thanks for attending. And tomorrow we have the session at 7 p.m. guys. Thank you.